important is how to make sure that it is effective and it actually works, and people get the message and they want to do something about it. So there are actually many fields that people with a degree in communications can go into. These are some of the key fields that my course mates have become a part of. And for myself, I'm in advertising. And then there's also the area of journalism, broadcasting, and maybe just to highlight some, a number of my course mates are in public relations, marketing, writing, events. So public relations is essentially being the voice of a brand. How do you respond to different crises that happens, writing out press release for new products, or marketing and advertising. Actually, people have a lot of questions when it comes to marketing and advertising, like, is there actually a difference? So essentially, marketing is the umbrella and advertising is one part of it. So you would see in companies like the role marketing executive, for example, and advertising is something that the marketing executive would basically work with an advertising agency to get their help with advertisements that goes out to their targeted audience. Yeah. So that's just a bit about some of the key areas that you can go into with a communications degree. So yeah, it's important to have different types of core skills that I think is important for a comms major to have, and also you'll be able to develop when you take up a comms degree. So the first is writing and verbal communication. So even in the course that I did, my comms program, writing is a really big part of the courses, the modules that I take up, and also verbal communication. So in the program, our class sizes are actually smaller compared to other courses, other university courses. So in terms of verbal communication, we actually encouraged to pick up a lot in class. And with the small size, it's actually more comfortable to ask questions. And I think in UB especially, there's a lot of emphasis in not being afraid to ask questions and just speaking up. And yeah, so these are two very important skills that you'll be able to develop, and it's also very important in the working industry, in the workforce. Yeah. So there's also critical thinking skills, interpersonal and relationship building. In the UB course, there's a lot of group projects. So in one way or another, you are kind of forced to learn and improve on these areas. And the last skill I think is quite important is literacy and experience in understanding what are the media and social channels out there. So as a comms major, you would be learning about what are the different media or social media channels. So this could be anything from traditional media to digital media, where we have our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and not just knowing how they work, but what are the latest updates on it, and how can we as comms majors use it to communicate our information effectively. And about the literacy part, I think it's very important to know what is happening in the world, and how can we then as comms majors or professionals then use these social media channels to talk about what's happening out there. Yeah. So these are some other nice to have skills, but are not limited to, which I find are very key, especially coming into the workforce and in advertising. So there would be things like media monitoring. Media monitoring is, if you break it down, it's monitoring what people are saying about a particular brand or a type of product. So, for example, if my brand, I'm selling shampoos, what are people saying about shampoos these days? What are people, how do they search for it? What is their journey? What is the consumer journey like? So it's important to understand, what are people saying? What are the sentiments? And how can we, as comms professionals, do something about it? And the second and third go together. So I think it's really useful to have skills in photo editing, video taking, and also graphic design skills, because this would help to, I guess, just have a creative eye in knowing how we can come up with different visuals or communications materials to get people's attention. And the last is social media analytics experience. So putting out content onto social media or even any kind of advertisement or communications material out there is one thing, but knowing how effective it is another. So a lot of different tools can be used to find out exactly how did these advertisements or social media posts perform, and then how can we then improve from there. So these are just some skills that would be actually quite essential if you can have it. Yeah. So the next would be the typical careers that people with a degree in communications would have. The first is social media manager, or rather just working in social media, just working as a social media executive or manager. So you would be the one to come up with content to put onto social media, and you would either work with designers or writers to put out the content. And for marketing coordinator, it would be, I think quite self-explanatory. And then there's community relations. So another word would be community management. And this is really responding and looking out for people who are engaging with your page and then responding to their comments, their messages. Then we have account executive, which is working with clients to understand what they want as a brand. And then in your own advertising agency, helping them to put out that content. And then we have public relations specialist, human resources, as well as events coordinator. Yeah, so these are some of the typical careers that my course mates as well have gone into after picking up a degree in communication. Okay, so these are some of the companies that my course mates are currently working in. So we have Channel News Asia, SPH, which is Singapore Press Holdings, the Smart Local. So I have a coursemate who is a video producer there. So he helps to come up with the latest type of content, talking about like having his own like talk shows via the Smart Local to talk about different topics, or putting out like food content out there. So that's one. I also have another classmate. Actually, he's one of our UB alumni who was the president, I think, of the student council back in his time, and he's currently working in Mothership, which is a news site. And then in terms of advertising agencies, I have friends in Publicis Singapore as well as Harvest Media. So they are either accounts executive or they are copywriters, writing advertisements. So I also have friends in SGH, Singapore General Hospital. This particular friend is, she's working as an operations executive in SGH. I also have another friend in working with the Down Syndrome Association of Singapore. So she's a program and communications executive there. So she helps to organize different types of activities and events, and also help with the communications materials of this association. Okay, so it's not just limited to the companies that you see on top, but also other industries like the hotel industry. This is I have a friend in Marriott International, and also another friend. This CMCC actually stands for Eagles Mediation Counseling Center. So this friend was working here as a communications executive. So this is an NGO. So there's really a lot of different types of industries that you can go into with a communication degree, and based on all these different types of careers as well. So let's talk a bit more about advertising and exactly what it is, and also the different parts to it. So I would see advertising as a three-layered uh, industry, where the first layer is called above the lines. So there are many channels that are used to communicate our information or advertise to put out advertisements. So the first is above the lines, where it's all about putting out content or advertisements on radio, TV, newspapers, and even magazines. And the second part of it is through the lines. So here we put out advertisements via web marketing, social media, and it could also include fairs and events. The third is below the line. So this involves press releases or press and also public relations, email marketing, and also telemarketing. So if you notice, social media and falls under through the lines. And I'm currently working in a digital advertising agency, so that would be counted as through the lines. So yeah, you can see that there's really many parts to advertising itself, and so it's not just one part of advertising, but there's so many different parts of advertising that for myself, I am a digital content writer. So I write content for social media and web particularly, but you could also be a writer for all the other types of platforms. And so there's really so many different areas that you can go into in advertising itself. So just to share a bit about my own advertising journey. So as mentioned earlier, upon graduation, did a social media internship with an advertising agency called MNC Saatchi in KL. And essentially what my role was to firstly plan, come up with ideas, and also briefing the writers and designers on the types of social media content that we want to put out for our client. So one of our biggest clients in this agency I was working in was a telco brand. And we were running their social media platforms, so particularly their Facebook, their Instagram, and their Twitter account. So as a social media intern, what I would do is to think of different ideas that we could put onto those social media platforms that also ties in with their products. So it could be phone plans, talking about even maybe phone hacks, things like that. So I would come up with different ideas, and then I would sit down with the writers and designers to tell them the idea and also how we can execute it creatively. So the second part of my role is to monitor what were the trending news and content that was going on. So this could involve things like memes and how do we tie it into our content when we talk about our social media platform for this telco brand. So one example was so I'm not sure how many of you all are familiar with Datuk Siti Nurhaliza. So she's a Malaysian singer, right? And basically, in that time, I was working with MNC Saatchi as an intern. One of the trending content on news that came out was that she had just delivered her firstborn, and so as a social media intern, I basically had to bring this up to my team and think about how we could latch onto this piece of news. So what we did was to use our Twitter account, the telco brand's Twitter account, to just do a shout out to her, tag her, and also, just congratulate her. So that was an example of that. So I also did some scheduling and publishing content. So coming up with the posts is one thing, but we also use different types of platforms like Social Bakers is one of them, different websites to schedule our posts and to be published. Yeah. Okay. And the last one is liaising with clients to better understand what exactly are their needs when it comes to advertising, and how do we then use our expertise in social media to deliver that accordingly. So here's an example of a post that I did for this telco brand. So here you will see it's a Facebook post, and an internal term that we use is this is a long image post. So here the content here is basically saying ever misplaced your phone while on silent mode, just like Jamie. Jamie is the name of this character. the telco brand has. And then don't worry, this Android hack has you covered. So what you see here when you first scroll through this post is an image that is this size. So you'll see, oh no, Jamie lost its phone. So tap open for a tip. So what happens is when you tap open this post, then you will see what are different hacks that you can use to find your phone while it's on silent mode. So this is one example of a post that was executed for this brand. Yeah. So this is really, just my internship experience. But I really found it really valuable and very enriching because I think it's very rare to be given an opportunity as an intern to, decide what kind of content goes onto a brand's page. So that was my internship experience. And right now, so since 2018 until now, I am a digital content writer with another advertising agency in KL called Kingdom Digital. So my role here includes a few things. Okay, let me just put it out. Okay. So the first is to understand clients' briefs. Understanding clients' briefs is very important. So when a brief comes in, it tells you what are the client's objectives and what are they trying to get out of this partnership with us. Do they want to increase their number of followers on their Instagram page, for example, or is it that they are having very low engagement on their Facebook page where not many people are commenting or liking their posts? So what can we, as an advertising agency, do to help them? Yeah. And the second point is brainstorming strategies and ideas. So coming up with different types of ways to creatively solve the client's problems or rather their different requirements. Yeah. And then the third is crafting copy and social media content. And that also includes web banners, websites, and digital outdoor ads. So what I do is I write social media captions and also planning out words for what would go onto a website content. I also write a few articles for different brands to be put on their website. And this also includes digital outdoor ads. So a lot of the telco companies that I work with actually involve putting out advertisements on outdoor digital ads. So basically informing people about their phone plans, or it could also just be about the different or the latest promo that they're having. The next one is presenting ideas and pitching for new brands. So this is something that I get quite excited about because a big part of advertising is really getting in new brands to work with. And so far I've worked with brands that are in the skincare industry, in the supermarket industry, telco, currently working with a brand in the property industry. So it really covers different industries. And so presenting ideas is very key in that. And then the last one is monitoring trending news and content. So just like my internship experience, I had to be on the ball basically and just be on my toes in knowing what is trending right now and how to tie it into the content that I put out for my brands. So here's an example of a video recipe that I did for a supermarket brand. This is just a static image, but basically we did a video recipe and we wanted to sell their canned tuna. So how we did that was to come up with a video recipe on how to make lemon tuna pasta. It was really fun to shoot this with my designer and just making this video. Yeah, we got to eat it as well in the end. So this is my time with Kingdom Digital. And maybe just to add on a bit more about monitoring trending news and content. As you guys know, we are all in a semi-lockdown season. So we are most of the time at home. And so as a digital content writer or as someone in the social media or digital advertising industry, it's very important to be very relevant to our target audiences. So knowing what is relatable to people in these times is very important. So a lot of our content has really been about how to spend your time in this MCO or CV period, and also maybe even things like having Facebook Live events or Instagram Live events with social media influencers. Yeah, so these are just some examples of monitoring trending news and putting content out there based on what we find is relevant. Mm, okay, so now coming back to the UB course and what exactly did I learn in the program and how did it help me? So of course we have our comms modules, the basic comms modules like principles of communication, written communication, and then we learn about advertising as well. Actually, it was my module in advertising that really sparked my interest for advertising even more. And I think just, it's really interesting to see ads out there and the power of words and how it can entice you to think about a brand or to shape your thinking about a brand and also do something about it. So buying the product eventually. Yeah, so that was what really got me thinking to go into advertising as well. Then we have journalism modules, public relations modules, research methods, public speaking. So these last 2 points here are actually very interesting communication modules that UV is offering. So one of it was about sexual health communication. So it's so important to actually talk about such things, but unfortunately, in especially I think the demographic, the geographical location that we are living in, or rather in an Asian context, we hardly talk about sexual health, right? And so this particular module was really interesting in helping us to understand the need for communicating the importance of sexual health. And also we learned things like, yeah, this is a really interesting topic that we learned. We learned what is it that makes someone become addicted to things like pornography, and what are the different stages that led up to that, and how does it impact a person's well-being or health. That was just a bit about this module. And the last is non-verbal communication. So I mean, when we talk about communication, actually most of it, a big percentage of what we communicate is our non-verbal. So how we use our hands, um, our body language and things like that. So another thing that was really interesting about this module is that the lecturer that taught it, Mark Frank, so he was a lecturer from UB itself who came over for the semester, and he himself actually works with the Singapore police force to help out with his expertise in non-verbal communication to help. I think it was in the area of speaking to or helping to analyze different non-verbal communication of um, people who were brought into custody and things like that. Yeah. So of course, we also learned a lot of non-communication modules, which I thought was really enjoyable and was very useful as well to um, learn about these things. So we learned about psychology, social psychology, and also sociology, just to name a few. There are many other non-comms modules that I took up. And a big part of taking my degree was the free electives that I really enjoyed a lot. So one of it is world music, which I'll be talking a bit about in a bit. We also learned new modules on nutrition, which, I mean, who knew, right, that coming to a program, communications, you would be allowed to take up modules on nutrition as well. And just thinking about my friend who's now working in SGH, I'm sure things like learning nutrition would have been very useful to her in her area, especially. And yeah, so these are some other modules that I found really interesting as well. I took philosophy of religion as one. So it really helped me to think more about what I believe and why I believe what I believe, and also to understand what other people believe and what makes them hold on to different beliefs. Yeah. another module that I took a very big interest in is Salesforce management. When I took up my marketing minor, it actually involved Salesforce management and consumer behavior. So I remember in my consumer behavior module, we would spend about a good hour actually just discussing in a class on the topic of, what is it that makes people get from their mobile devices to the shop? What is that process like, and how is it like for each one of us? Or when you walk in a supermarket, there's actually a reason why products are placed in a certain area, and there's actually a whole strategy behind that. There's a reason why, when you are at the checkout counter, you see snacks, and there's a reason why when you are in an alley of the supermarket, that certain products are placed at your different viewing angles. So that some are like really high on top, some are really down below. So there's a reason why these products were placed in those places. Yeah. And the last is, of course, language. So I did not pick up these modules, but I had a lot of friends who took up language modules in French and Japanese. Yeah. So just going to talk a bit about the world music module that I took up. So I really enjoyed this module. What this module is basically, it's a music module, and this is actually my class. This is our class size. It's a really comfortable class size, and we got to know each other really, really well after the semester. Throughout the course of the semester. And yeah, so what this music module was there's actually there's two different routes that you can take. So you can either help to manage a band, or you can be part of a band. So I chose to manage a band. And so there were 3 different bands that were formed in the class. And it's really interesting because they actually had to audition. And then our lecturer, which is our prof, his name is Dr. Samuel Wong. He helped to put them into different bands, basically. So one was called Mellifera, another was called Soul Sisters, another was called Umbra. So they each had their look and feel. So as a person who helped to manage these bands, I came up with their logo, which is this. Each of their logos, and also the music management company logo. So the music management company was called Medley and Co. And what we would do is to manage the bands by helping them to shoot different videos of the covers that they are supposed to put out each week, and also work with different cafes or event spaces to see how we can arrange for live performances. So I think it really, really helped me a lot in my journey as a comms graduate, because I was then able to put my skills of like knowing how to shoot or design into practice. And yeah, so overall I really enjoyed doing this module. Yeah. So a bit more about my life in SIM as a student. So I joined the string ensemble in SIM as a violinist. That's me over there. And I only joined my the school string ensemble in probably like my last 2 semesters, and I was really glad to have done that because I really gained a lot of friends, and also it helped me a lot in my confidence, I think, in playing the violin. So I also joined the school student council freshman orientation camp as a games coordinator. So this was the committee that I worked with to organize games for freshman orientation camp. And the last one is working with the school Maxim, so the Malaysian Society in SIM. So this was a performance that we had, if I'm not mistaken, it was a Chinese New Year event. So I played the guitar here, and it was just a really good time expanding my social circle in uni, beyond the classroom and my classmates that I had. Okay, so the last one is a really big part of my student life in SIM, which is the Christian Fellowship. it was a really good community and a very big community that I was a part of. So here are just two screenshots of it. So the first is we did a caroling session during Christmas, and this was held in our school Starbucks. And the second here is a camp that we had. Yeah, so I think community, especially as an international student, is really important. You know, when you don't have family with you, it's always important to have community around you. And for me, it was with this group of people. So yeah, in the Christian Fellowship, I was the chairperson and also the camp commandant for one of the camps. So I think all this as well helped me a lot in developing my skills as a leader as well. And yeah, so I'm really thankful that I had the opportunity to be part of all these different clubs and communities. Yeah, so I think that wraps up my sharing. I'm really no expert in this area, but it was really just based on my personal experience. So if you'd like to find out more, here are just some reference links that you can really take a picture of and to find out more. And yeah, I think that wraps up my part. If there's anything else that you'd like to ask besides the Q&A session after this, you can always email me at this email address. Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, thank you so much, Charmaine. It's very interesting to know your whole journey through as a student and also your work. So right now what I'll do is I'll share a bit about the programs that we have, and from there, after that, then we will hit to the Q&A session with Charmaine. Okay, so yeah, so just to introduce myself, I didn't do that earlier. I'm actually Janice. I'm the country manager for Malaysia in the Malaysia rep office, which is in KL. So nice to meet all of you. Yeah. So yeah, just a bit of introduction about SIM if you're not already familiar with it. So we have students from over 40 countries right now. We have a very beautiful campus at Clementi Road. You can see the picture right down there or behind my head at the moment. At the moment, we have 17,000 students, okay, and about 3,500 of them are international students. So if you're Malaysian, you're coming, don't worry, you won't be the only Malaysian there. You will have a good community of Malaysian friends that will also be there. Like Charmaine has also shared, like, say, the Maxim that she was very involved in. Yeah, we do have a home away from home for you. And apart from that, we do have about close to 80 students, a student club. So this is whether it's a religious, for example, in Charmaine's case, it's the Christian Fellowship, or, you know, whether it's sports, or whether you're interested in specific sports that you want to pick up, or whether it's music, or anything at any area, as really you can find something that may interest you in one of our student clubs. And at the moment, we have already about 165,000 alumni. So there are a lot of people that you can network with. We do have our own alumni engagement office that will actually bring in mentors in to mentor students of ours. And currently, we actually, based on a recent survey, we have actually 82.8% of our graduates who find jobs within 6 months after their final exams. Yeah, so this is a bit of an introduction about SIM. So the pathway, okay, so of course students will either come in from whether you were from UEC, STPM or A-levels, or you can come in also through your SPM or O-levels. So for UEC, STPM, A-levels or equivalent, you can actually go in direct to the degree. So we have degrees from UK, US and Australia. So for example, the UK ones, you see University of London, University of Stirling, you see RMIT and Wollongong in the Australian programs, and you also have University of Buffalo, which is where Charmaine is from, in the US programs. So this is for 3 years. And then next, you will also see if you, depending on your results, okay, you either go in through your UEC, STPM or A-levels again, or directly from your SPM O-levels, you can go into our SIM programs, which starts from our foundation, which is 6 months, and then our diploma, which is a year to 15 months. And then after that, then you can follow on by our degrees in the same degrees that I mentioned earlier. And some of the programs, you do have to go through our diploma first. For example, University of Birmingham, which also does have a business with communications program. If you're interested in majoring mainly in business, then you can also consider this program. So these are some of the examples of the programs that we have. And if you want to look at it further, you can actually look at our website too. So after diploma programs, our programs will actually take about 1.5 years up to 3 years, depending on which program you choose. So the university partners that offer our communication program. So I'm just going to bring in 2 of them. So first of all, it's our RMIT program, which is our Australian program, and it's been dated back since 1887. So there's a long line of history there. So it's the 15th highest ranked university in Australia and the 12th in the world and highest ranked in Australia for art and design. So we do have the Bachelor of Communications in professional communication over there. Yep. And then the requirements are over here. So if you are going in directly, and the program is 2 years, you need a UEC minimum average GPA of 2.20, which is a B4 average, and STPM minimum average of GPA of 2.33, which is C plus average, and A levels you need a 3 A levels or H2 level passes. And the English requirements are stated over here as well. So these are your English requirements, IELTS 6.5, no band less than 6. All these details you will also be able to find on our website. So the RMIT program, it will actually be 2 years. The intake is in July. So the closing date for this, the upcoming one, of course, is closed, but maybe you can consider the next one. And the cost fee is about 44,000 for the overall. So for University at Buffalo, this is where Charmaine is from. Okay, it's founded in 1846. And it's one of the leading public universities in US. It's ranked first public university in the New York State and the first public university in the New York to be admitted into the prestigious Association of American Universities. So then you will also see Bachelor of Arts in Communication, and in this area you actually could take up double majors and double degrees in the program as well. So depending on what you take up, the length of your study might be longer or shorter as well. So for example, for Charmaine, she took Bachelor of Arts in Communications and she did a minor in marketing. Yeah, so yeah, it depends. It's very flexible. You can see how you want to arrange your programs and something that caters to your interests as well. So for UB admission, of course, if you're going through UEC STPM A levels, this will be the requirements that you need. If you like, you can take a photo, or you may also look at our website for further details on this. Another alternative for this is students have also gone through our foundation program, which is 6 months, and then with specific results required in the foundation, then they are able to go on to directly to the degree. So this is another option for students if you want a shorter foundation period and also directly to the degree. But of course, this is depending on your results in your SPM or as well, and O levels, and also the minimum requirement from your foundation. So if you'd like to know more about this, please feel free to ask us as well. The chat box is over there. You can also ask us any questions that you may have regarding the program. So for this as well, the English requirements is a 6.5 IELTS, and the rest are also stated over here. And duration is more or less 3 years. There are 3 intakes, January, May, and August. And the closing date for the upcoming program is actually on 8 June 2020. And the cost fee, depending on whether you're taking a single degree, double major, double degree, this will be the different estimated rate. So we have scholarships in SIM. So we have 2. One, SIM Global Education Diploma Scholarship. So this is specifically for international students, and it will look at your outstanding academic results and also maybe your extracurricular activities. And also if you're shortlisted, then you go through an interview, and after that, then you will see whether it will be awarded to you. This scholarship covers your full tuition fee. Yeah, and there's no bond involved. Yeah, and then we have the SIMGE scholarship, which is mainly for maybe A-level students and also students that come from our diploma. So it's open to our Singapore citizens and also PR and international students. And this one, there's also outstanding academic results that will be required and achievement in sports and arts. And the scholarship will cover full tuition fees, exam fees, and there'll be a fixed book allowance for you, and also other compulsory fees required. So these are all no bonds attached to both of the scholarships, which means if you get it, that's for you, based on, it's like a reward for you, and you don't have to come back to SIM to work or anything of that sort after getting it. So if you have any things that you like to ask us, ask my team, which are also in this group today, you can actually email us on the email here, or contact us on this number. sorry, at the moment, don't contact us on this number because we're not back in the office yet. But do email us, or of course, right in the group chat at the moment, so that we can answer any of your questions. Or when the MCO is over, then we have our rep office, which is in the Gardens North Tower. You can feel free to let us know if you'd like to come and talk to us as well. And if there's any further details you need, you can also find it in our website over here. Yep. So I'm just going to share about the upcoming event next week. It's on next Saturday, 10:30 to 11:30. This is for finance. So if you have any student, any of you that are interested in finance sector, we have 3 different people who are from different parts of the finance sector that will be coming to share with us. So you can register at the link over there as well. So without further ado, I will go back to Charmaine so that we can also ask the questions that most people are more interested in knowing at the moment. So yeah, so now I'm back to our screen here. So if there's any questions, please feel free to share with us. And then, okay, so first of all, I do have a question that's been asked. What is the difference, Charmaine, between studying communications versus mass comm? So there are a lot of mass comm programs out there as well. Is there a difference? And yeah, do people end up working in the same areas, or is one an umbrella over the other? If you could kindly share, please.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a very common question people have, and I had this question myself. So communication and mass communication, essentially, they mean the same thing. Communication covers how to communicate information effectively to your audience, and with the word mass in front, it basically means like to send out to the masses, to the audience that you have. So essentially, there's no difference between communication and mass communication. But that being said, I think when you pick up a degree program, look at the program structure, compare it if you have to with the other ones that you are thinking about going for, and look at what are the modules that you'll be taking, and maybe from there you'll be able to better see what are the differences. But in most cases, it would be similar, and yeah, so actually essentially it's the same. Yeah, the same.
Okay. So in your communications program, do you have any like a specific smaller modules that is like on mass communications that so that you learn specifically in mass comm? What do you do?
There was a module on survey in mass communications. But I would think it was really just the name of it. And what that module did cover though is the topic on understanding how people think before they how they form their message, basically what's the process like in their lives before actually wanting to buy a product. So that it will help in us when we gather data in understanding our target audiences before coming up with an advertisement. So it has a bit to do with what Ellen asked in the chat about social media analytics for that particular module on survey of mass comms. Yeah, maybe I could also answer his question as well, since you're on this topic. So, so your question is, what is social media analytics experience? Yeah, so before we put out any form of advertisement, it's always important to understand who are our target audience and what are they firstly saying about the brand or what you want to put out. So social media analytics would come in where we use different websites or tools to, for example, like Google Analytics, to put in and find out what are the keywords that people would type, for example, when they are searching for a particular product. So if it's about skincare, then would the keywords be, for example, like acne scars or pigmentation. So using these social media analytics tools like Google Analytics would help us to better understand, and also not just the part of before you put out an ad, but also after you put out an ad, how did people then respond to that ad. So another platform used is Facebook Analytics. So Facebook has their own name to it. I think it's called yeah, I'm not too sure what the name is, but Facebook has its own page where you can find out how are your posts performing. So if you put out a post, you can see what is the page engagement like, how many people actually click onto your posts, and yeah, then you can monitor an overall monthly or annually result of how your posts have been performing. So I would think that this is very important if you can have beforehand in terms of before working into the stepping into the workforce. And one thing that can help is, for example, like I was part of different clubs and Christian Fellowship. I ran their social media accounts, so their Instagram and their Facebook page. So being on the back end, I'm able to see based on what we have posted up so far, which are the types of posts that people are more engaged to, or that could also help us in knowing what else we can post up onto our pages. Yeah. So that's just a bit about social media analytics.
Okay, thank you, Charmaine. So we have also got a question. What are the current trends for the advertising field, especially with this whole pandemic that's happening? Is there any changes? Like, do you see, because everything's going on online now, do you see like a lot more work for your firm, for example? Or is there any changes, or is it been basically the same throughout?
Okay, so wow, this period of MCO has been really interesting because yeah, every brand wants to put out content about MCO while linking it to their own brands. So for us in the advertising industry, it has really been pushing out all sorts of content about stuff that you can do at home, or just the importance of personal hygiene while tying it to their product. So for example, I'm working on a skincare brand now, and they wanted to tie in their products to MCO. So what we did was a series of different types of posts. So one was we worked with social media influencers in Malaysia to do an IG live with our audiences. So they came on, they used our Instagram account, and one of them, she did like how to do a TikTok video. So that was one of it. Another one was on, I think, beauty tips. So for the TikTok video, that influencer, she actually used one of our products to use to show how to do a TikTok video. And then for the beauty influencer, she helped us to, I think it was beauty tips, skincare tips, and then she would talk about the product that we had. And then we also did a Spotify playlist. So we created a Spotify playlist for our audiences to listen to in this time where they can maybe prep their skincare while listening to the songs that we put here, or cook at home while listening to those songs. And so a very big theme has just been about what can be done at home in this time. And for telco companies, I did an ad recently on basically this telco company has like a home internet product that they were trying to promote it to business owners. So they were trying to push for that product in their time. Mostly just talking about NCO.
Okay. That's great. So I've also got a question, basically asking if there were any challenges when during your study period, as a Malaysian coming to Singapore and doing a US program, was there any challenges that you faced? Was like the English, would you find it like tougher for any reason, or or was it actually quite smooth for you?
So in terms of language, because English is my first language, so I didn't really have like much issue especially in terms of like I think making friends. So it was quite easy to make friends, and I think Singaporeans in general are just really fun to hang out with. And besides that, in terms of what maybe in terms of what I had difficulties. So because I stayed in Malaysia, I stayed in Johor Bahru, and I commuted to school every day. And so that was quite a journey because it was not easy to wake up very early in the morning to travel to school. And so for the first 3 months, it was pretty hard to adapt to that. But I think it took a good half a year, I think, to adjust to that. But besides that, I think what really helped is being part of a community. So the friends that I made in UB, and also keeping myself, I guess, occupied. So being involved in clubs or doing something while I'm on campus. Yeah.
Okay, great. So you're one of those cosplay kids, they will call it as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think it's always tough in the beginning from what I hear, but I think a lot of people, once they get used to it, it's actually a possibility as well. But of
Yeah.
course, for SIM, we do have a lot of students that when they come from overseas, they actually do rent out places together. For example, if you're in Maxim and you meet other Malaysian friends that, hey, everyone's looking for a place together, you can all
Yeah.
rent a room together, rent a whole HDB flat together. So that's what we see in a lot of our students. Yeah.
Actually, I
So
forgot to add.
yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to add that actually in my final year, I did stay in Singapore.
Okay.
So that helped a lot. And of course, it cut short my travel time as well. Yeah.
It's okay. I think that traveling, it can be done while you're young, especially.
Yes.
Yeah. So in the interest of time, I'll maybe take one last question as well. Is there anyone else that has any questions so far? If not, I have just one last question here. Not really a question, more of like if you have any advice, for students who are considering to take up communications, what do you have any last word of advice for them, and what they can prepare in between right now, and during their studies, should they do, what should they not do? Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways that you can prepare yourself. There's actually a lot of online courses right now that are free, that you can learn about marketing, advertising, how to write, how to use Photoshop and things like that. I think those are really useful to equip yourself. And in terms of advice in general, um, I think whatever it is, it's very important to know firstly what are your strengths now. And because for myself, I never actually thought that I would end up being a digital content writer or a writer for that matter. It was really just a journey lah. So I took it as it came. My social media internship was a very good starting point. And for myself, I wanted to really start from the ground level to learn as much as I can in advertising as an intern, and from there know what else I can actually learn. So just keep a very open mind, and be proactive in terms of learning. There's really a lot of really good courses online right now that can be done. And if you drop me an email, I can link you to some as well. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Actually, I got a last question before we end. Do you think to be successful in a communications degree that you need to be a creative person?
I think creativity. I think everyone can be creative, but particularly in communications, what helps is not just being creative, but knowing how to use ideas into forming into a message and forming it into something that can make people or catch people's attention. So that is where creativity plays a part. So you can be creative, but if you are full of ideas and you're not too sure how to translate them into a piece of information that goes out, then it's not very easy. But creativity does play an important role. But knowing how to use the creative ideas is another thing.
Okay, thank you very much, Charmaine. Thank you for your time today, and also your sharing and letting us know what your personal experience is. Everyone, this will be where we end today. Please remember that we have another session next week for finance if you're interested. And thank you very much again, Charmaine. Be in touch. take care, everybody, and stay safe. And during this MCO, drink as many Dalgona coffees as you want before the MCO is over. Okay, take care, everyone. Thank you.